time it felt right drinking cherry wine with you. Just wanted to own it, just wanted to take the time, learn all the things that I could about you. Now it's such a mess here, oh we are just stressed here, used to be so easy with you.
Okay, so I'm Sparkle and I am here with Project Hope. Yay! Okay, so tell us all about Project Hope and who started and how long it started.
Well, Project Hope was started in 2018 as a grassroots community-based movement that provided support to underserved and vulnerable communities throughout Lake County, and we provided very mostly that's what we do. All the basic needs.
Prosper the community and help them in a way that we did. We used to rent a U-Haul truck. We'll pick up groceries when we started and bag them at our house, and then go the next day and get deliver food and bring our team. And so it's grown since 2018, and we're just happy to be out here.
And now it's not just Los Angeles, have you extended to other counties to help people all over?
Yes, so what started out in Los Angeles County now has went to several counties and even out of state to Las Vegas. And so, started out, like we said, as a grassroots community-based movement. Now we transition to our programming component. So we work with students at a charter school from kindergarten all the way up to 30 years old. And the mission of Project Hope is to decrease violence and provide, empower our communities to thrive through mentoring, reentry support, and community engagement, and just really connecting community members with their service providers out there, just being, a beacon of light in our communities and the key there.
Everybody's trying to make that. I'm pretty shocked that how did you get to learn that?
Yeah, especially during the pandemic.
We didn't shut down and say we couldn't do these events. Project Hope CA.
Project, yeah, all the socials.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
I am here with Cadre, the comedian. So great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so tell us how you did it.
It was during the pandemic. I was kind of just at home, just trying to figure out some things to do, and you know, just like a lot of my friends, man, like we wanted to start helping the community. A lot of people were going through a tough time. You know, even myself as an entertainer, I was going through a tough time. So we started helping the community, and they reached out to me to come do an event with them, and I kind of just got the helping bug, and we just kept going out. We started working with different people. I started bringing out, you know, guys like Danny or other artists and other actors to come out and help with me, and we just developed a relationship, and then it kind of just grew into like having a seat at the desk on the table now.
Isn't it crazy though how such a bad thing turned into something great? The pandemic, it made it into something really cool. I'm sure you're like worried, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to stand up again. How we have all the worries that we have.
Well, yeah, like, because there was no work going around. It was kind of like everything stopped. It was from like night to day. So it was like, we kind of had to figure out. So I started doing more comedy on social media, but I really wanted to help out there. Like, I really wanted to get out there and help the people. And I kind of just caught the bug, and I was like, man, we have to keep doing this. And, you know, it wasn't like just during the pandemic. Like, it's been, what, 2.5 years now. And, you know, I just want to keep on helping them. Today we went to the prison, corporate prison. Yeah, man, I went up there and I was scared because I was like, I don't want to say the wrong thing and then like these guys get upset with me, you know what I'm saying? So, but I've got it worked out. They had a good time. You know, Danny's angels come out and sing, and it was fun. We had a really good time.
What do you think about the success of how this has grown? Because I heard they were making sandwiches in the kitchen, and now you guys are on the road doing something. What do you think when you like sit back and like, wow, I'm a part of this?
Blessed, man. I'm blessed to be able to help. You know, like as much as you know, I like being a part of entertainment and you know having fans and doing all this stuff, and it's all good. But nothing really makes me feel more accomplished than to like help people out that really need the resources. Yeah. You know, like I mean, the pandemic it was really bad. You know, like it was really, really bad. Like dads, you know, husbands, wives were losing their jobs. So you saw the struggle of people, and that really just changed, you know, the way my thought process was going. I was like, you know what, man, like I'm blessed. I have a lot of blessed friends like Danny, Baby Bash, Frankie J, like all these people that I work with, that I've known for 15, 20 years. I was like, yo, guys, like we're blessed, man. These people have been our fans of our work for the last 15, 20 years. This is the time for us to give back, you know? And I'm just happy that they even asked me to be a part of the board, and I kind of took it. I don't wear a suit, but
You're the anti-board member.
I put t-shirts and just some regular sneakers, but we get the job done no matter what.
So then on a personal note, what can we see you in now? Some of the stuff that you're excited about professionally.
Yeah, so right now I'm doing a tour called doing a Stone Sequels tour. That's my stand-up tour. I'm also on tour with Snoop Dogg, E40, Ice Cube, and Too Short. It's called Mount Westmore. So actually, yeah. So I host the shows.
I love it.
Yeah. So I host the shows. We're doing. We got Bakersfield coming up. We got Fresno. I couldn't be there last night for San Antonio because I was here. So I took the day off and I came here to do this. And yeah, so I got that tour. I got my TV shows on Tubi right now. It's going on Amazon Prime. It's called Ghetto Busters, and we actually shot in Madera, which is not too far from here, north or south. I know it's close by. And then I have a movie coming out called Chata de Loco, and that's going to be a big Hollywood movie. So stay tuned for that. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on my show.
Thank you.
Okay, Danny, so tell us about Project Hope. How did you get involved?
My friend Concrete, who does music video for the originator, so he does music video, and he told me about Project Hope, what they do. I was like, wow, maybe I would help me. They have a new sponsor, and I'm here. So I told him, you got a break, and we were like, how much it would be invested. I'd be one of my best friends. I don't charge for it, you know what I mean? So we went to Corporate State Prison. was just, you know, to be able to give back, to help somebody that's had a lot of days, help them pass the day.
Right.
And the girls, everybody kept saying, oh, geez, original gangster. These guys are original gentlemen.
Oh, I love that.
It's so sweet, it's kind of old gangsters, original gentlemen. It's awesome.
I love that. So what can we do in the community? Like people watching at home, they're just on their sofa. Just how can we help in little ways? Tell us how we can.
You touch the bot with
Oscar. Oh yes, we interviewed Oscar.
People think, well, I can't help.
I know. I think people think that. They're like,
For me, it's like, your closet, you clean out your closet, I don't need this, I don't need that.
oh yeah.
Somebody's got a shirt on the street, somebody's got a coat that they can put in their jacket. You look so much, and people wear them. It's like, I'm the worst person in the world with tennis shoes. My tennis shoes get dirty. I go there, people right. So it just doesn't matter, you know what I mean?
And hands-on, we could do more like fundraising. We could do like music concerts. So we could do it in our hometown. We should be getting out of And you're cutting hair. I heard about her cutting hair. That's all of it. We appreciate you coming out and doing all this work.
The week before I was in Philippines, New York, home a day, and I went to Brussels, and I went to Dallas.
Wow. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming out. I love your angels. I want to be in one of your music videos. I could be a video host. A video vixen. Is that
A video later.
So I am here with the Bobby Salazar himself. How's it going?
Great. How you doing tonight?
Good. We have all of your salsa. This is such a fun-filled night. We got Concrete, the comedian, Danny Trejo. We have the organizers of Project Hope. How'd you get this here?
Well, we're a big sponsor of the Project Hope with Danny Trejo and his entourage, and so they're in the valley here doing all the promotion for that, and we got them to come down here and take care of them for dinner and drinks tonight.
How long have you been involved with Project Hope?
Like a year now.
Well, that's really great what they do. It's like, we gotta start getting back to the community. And so tell us about the salsa. Where can we get that?
We've been making this for several years. Now it's in a lot of grocery stores up and down the valley, any grocery store you can name. And we're reaching into Southern California, Northern California, and Texas. So we have Walmarts all over California and Texas now.
And it's made fresh.
It's made fresh right here in Fowler, California. And, you can get it through our restaurants. But yeah, we can buy it all kinds of places here.
And this is where every time I come here, it's always popping, whether it's a Tuesday night or a Sunday night.
Yeah.
How do you keep this going?
Well, I've been here 25 years now in the Tower District, the bar and restaurant here, and so it's just a fun place to go the way the atmosphere here is, and we let you get kind of loud and a little wild. So
That must be why I like it. That's my kind of place.
yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for having us here tonight.
Thank you. Push the salsa for us. Help us out. Thank you.
Tonight was a great night. Thank you for all who came out. Project Hope, one of the greatest projects I have heard about in a long time. We had Danny Trejo, we had the comedian Concrete, and of course our sponsor Bobby Salazar. You gotta support small business with the salsa. Thank you guys.
Thanks for coming on Everything Sparkle today. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, so Kemp BBQ. I've tasted it. It's really, really delicious. Tell us about how it was born. So there was a Kemp in another town, and you guys brought it to Clovis.
So I met my boyfriend about a year and a half ago, and he had a restaurant, a barbecue restaurant, Kemp BBQ, in another town called Gustine. And after dating for a while, we decided we wanted to live closer together or live together. And I convinced him to move here to Clovis and open up in Clovis.
And the weirdest thing is that you decided to do it around the holidays during COVID.
Yes, yes, we did.
That sounds like a recipe for disaster, but
Yeah.
It wasn't.
No.
So when you guys started and everything, what were some of the obstacles that came up?
The biggest obstacle was just finding a place. We thought that with COVID, there would be a lot of restaurants that had shut down because
Right.
they had to be shut down and maybe couldn't afford to keep their places or keep their businesses open anymore, because you were seeing that everywhere. So we thought there would be plenty of locations to choose from. But when it came down to it, there just wasn't. And it was especially difficult to try and find a space for a barbecue restaurant because we needed a place, a patio area or some sort of outdoor area where we could have the barbecue pits, the smokers. So that added on to the difficulty of finding a location. And we actually looked for, I want to say, 7 months before we found this location that we're at now.
And then they were actually closing down, but they were a restaurant before, so they had a lot of the things you needed, but you had to bring the smokers in.
Correct. We had to bring a smoker in to that location.
That sounds like a lot of work.
It was a lot of work.
Was it all dirty and stuff?
It needed some work, yeah. They had to move everything. Yeah, they moved all their
I
stuff.
imagine that's...
Yeah, they left and we came in right behind them, and so there was definitely some. It's not like when you move into a new house, a house rental. You know,
They
the
make sure
landlord
it's all
doesn't come
clean,
in and clean it. You come in and clean it. So yes, there was.
And that's an
definitely
interesting thing
some
for
stuff
people
to
to
do.
know that's never had like a business where you have to go in and do everything.
Yeah, a business lease is very different.
Okay, so then you got it. How did it all of a sudden get popular where you guys were selling out every day?
I believe it's just been word of mouth. We haven't done any sort of advertising. We wanted to do kind of a soft opening to kind of see how things would go and be able to make adjustments as we went, to the menu or to prices.
You haven't even done that yet.
Yeah, we still haven't done any advertising. We post on Facebook and Instagram, and other than that, it's just been word of mouth.
And people were coming to look for the other place. It was Cravings, right?
Yes, a lot of our customers initially have been people coming thinking that they're going to Cravings, seeing that it's now a barbecue restaurant, and just deciding to go ahead and give it a try.
That's good, because hamburgers and hot dogs, it's not too big of a stretch to where it's like, oh, we can't get that, but hey, barbecue smells good, let's taste it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really cool. And then you think people kind of smell it from off the street, I think, too, when they're coming.
Sometimes, yes. I know that there's been times when I've pulled up myself and I can, from the street light at Herndon and Armstrong, I can actually smell the barbecue smell. So that might attract some people as well.
I love that. So how long was Dom barbecuing?
He had the restaurant in Gustine for 2 years, but he's been barbecuing for many years, just fine-tuning and tweaking what he already knew and teaching himself new things. And for example, when I met him, he hadn't done a brisket, and now he's got the brisket just down to a science, and it's probably the best brisket you'll get in the area.
And the sauces, how do you guys create that?
The sauce,
The special.
secret.
I know it's a secret, but you guys
Ancient Chinese secret.
You guys tweak it together, or like just because I'm sure you went through a lot of trial and error before that was good.
I'm sure it's his recipe. I really don't know much about what goes into the sauce. He's never even never even told me how he makes it.
There's multiple sauces that are out there, because we have a spicy one. I'd like a chipotle one. I know I've tried more than one.
Right now we have
there.
a sweet and an original.
Okay, so I've tried 2 different sauces there.
Yeah, the sweet and the original.
And which one's the spicy one? I tried a spicy one before.
Spicy one.
It was spicy. It was put a little bit of spice.
It's a secret menu.
Okay, so, and then you make the sides, a lot of them.
I make some of the sides, yes. I make the macaroni and cheese and the rice pilaf.
And you perfected that pretty well too.
Yeah, it took me a few weeks, but I kept tweaking the recipe and finally settled on what we serve today.
So I heard that someone came from Bakersfield just to try it out.
Correct.
How
yes.
did they hear about it?
I don't know the whole story. I wasn't there, but It was something where somebody had come in, tried the food, liked it so much, and then he went and told all his friends and family, including some people in Bakersfield, and so this big group drove from Bakersfield to Fresno to try the food, or to Clovis.
Wow, that's crazy. That must have felt pretty good, huh?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty exciting
Did
to
they
have
say it
people
was
come from
worth
that far
it?
away. Yeah, I believe so. I think they loved it.
And then you're hearing some people say it's the best barbecue in town.
Yes, we get that a lot, both in Google and Yelp reviews, and just, as customers are in there, we're asking what they think of the food, and they'll just flat out tell us it's the best barbecue I've had.
There's really no competition in that area, right? There's not a lot in Clovis, especially in that area.
No, not a lot. There's a couple places, I guess they're somewhat close, maybe within a mile and a half, but it's a little bit different.
What makes your guys' different?
It's 100% wood smoked in the smoker.
And that's something kind of unique to the Valley.
I believe so, or at least unique to our location.
And is it supposed to be on the southern side, or?
I think it would be closest to Texas style.
Texas, okay.
Yeah,
So
that would probably be the
closest. It does
closest.
have the south.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And I know that you guys even went on a trip to, you did kind of a little tour and you tried out the different barbecues from here to, what was the town?
We took a road trip to Missouri, and then we tried on our way back. On the way up, we stopped at, I think, a place, I want to say it was in Arizona, maybe, on the edge of Arizona. And then mostly on the way back through Texas, we stopped at a few different places, the big names like Franklin's and Terry Black's, Salt Lick. And we just kept trying barbecue the whole way.
Did you tell them what you were doing, that you kind of had a spot and you were trying to see what was out there?
Yeah, no, we did. And at Salt Lick, they actually took Dom behind the scenes and showed them everything, exactly how they do things from beginning to end at their place, which was, an especially fun situation for him.
They don't make it a secret like you guys do.
No, they don't.
That's so cool. What a cool experience. And then what do you hope to gain from this? I know right now it's a small town feel, but it's really nice. Like it could always be a nightclub. Your place is so decorated nice, but it's like you had a lot of families in and that small town feel. What are some of the things you hope out of it?
The vision that we have is to eventually have a location, maybe not this location, maybe this one will stay like the lunch and maybe a everyday lunch spot or whatever, but we would like to have a location where it's more like a backyard barbecue feel, and so you would be able to, like, the pit would be like right there in the middle of everything. Tables would be around, kind of outdoorsy, maybe be able to have like live music and have it be more of a fun place to hang out versus just a typical, restaurant, what you see today.
But I do like that you can kind of see, from when customers come in, everything's all open and you can see what's going on. I think that's really important. We like to see where our food comes
and
from.
we do really like that setup, and that's not going to change. Yeah.
That is so cool for a brand new business, because you've been selling out almost every day.
Yep, we do.
What are your hours?
Our hours right now are Tuesday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. or sell out. We've been typically selling out by 5 to 5:30.
Man, you got to get in there early to get yours.
And then on Saturdays, we're open 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. or again, sell out. And Saturdays are kind of not as consistent. Sometimes we sell out by 2:30. Sometimes we sell out, a little bit later, 4. Sometimes we make it all the way to 5. But the weekdays definitely are pretty consistent at selling out by 5:30.
That is so awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on my show. We'll have to do a little tour there at Kemp to see where the meat comes from.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
Hi, welcome to Kemp's BBQ. This is where we do real wood smoked barbecue, all on a wood smoker. It is from Tuesday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. or sell out, and Saturday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. or sell out as well. I want to put you guys in the restaurant. This is what it looks like inside. And then this is our menu. It's pretty basic, honestly. It doesn't change. On weekends, we do have special options such as big fat beef smoke ribs, or we do chicken as well. It just depends on the weekends. We do have meat, sandwiches, sides, and drinks. Everything is sold separately. For the meats, they only come in half pounds or full pounds. So we have the tri-tip for our first meats often. It's very smoked and kind of tenderized a lot. We do it pretty well done. You're gonna have the big smoke ring around the top with the hit of pink, and so you'll know it's done well. The brisket is gonna be a little bit more like savory, kind of more spongy type, especially if people who like melt in your mouth type meats. That's the way to go, and that's one of our top sellers. Our pulled pork is pulled pork. We shred it. It comes with or without a bread of coleslaw on it. It just depends on your palate. Our spare ribs, they are 12, half rack is 6 and a full rack is 12. They're really well smoked. You still get that ring kind of on those ribs. We cut them for you. They're not pre-cut. And then our hot links, you have the option of the sandwich as well. Hot links, we do chop them up before you, when you buy them, and then the sandwich will come with or without a bed of coleslaw. With our sandwiches, our tri-tip will come on a fresh French roll, toasted, and we'll put the tri-tip on it. Barbecue sauce is always going to be on side. We don't sauce the meat here. With that, same with brisket, we'll just put slices of brisket on the sandwich. And pulled pork, it comes, and the hot link comes with or without the coleslaw. It just depends on your palate as well. Everything is made when you order it. It's not pre-made, it's very fresh. Same thing here. He smokes it and very fresh, no freezers. It comes prepped, but by day one, honestly. And he smokes it on that wood grill. Through our sides, we have our mac and cheese. It is stovetop, but it is probably one of the best mac and cheese I've had in my entire life. And I'm a mac and cheese girl, so I know what I'm talking about. Our ranch beans are barbecue style. They're kind of sweet, but also have a savory taste to them. Our rice pilaf is it's good. I don't even know how to describe it. And then there we have our coleslaw. Our coleslaw isn't like any other, I don't like coleslaw, and I like our coleslaw. It's very kind of vinegary, but you still get the zing, but not the smell or the aftertaste of it. And our drinks, we have cold cans. You can always ask for a cup of ice. We actually prefer it, just to make sure that lasts, especially in the summer heat, it's gonna get hot. So the best, or actually what sells out the most, what the customers like best, is actually our brisket or our tri-tip. You honestly have to come really early to get the brisket, especially on Friday and Saturdays, because it is gone by 2 o'clock. That's how much people like it. Personally, it's just kind of strange because it's a barbecue restaurant, but I like the hot link sandwich with the bed of coleslaw. It just equals out the spiciness of it, and I really don't like spice, and that is my absolute favorite. Being a part of Kemp's BBQ, you have to have a sense of humor. Being an employee, definitely. Dom is a great guy. He treats everybody like family. Like, you walk in, he wants to make sure that the food is good. So he's gonna ask you what I can do better. How is it? Is it better with or without the barbecue sauce? He cares about you as a family. And that's about it.
So what's up? I'm Dom. I'm the owner, operator, food master, the boss, the guy that runs this place. It's stupid. Anyways, I am going to show you guys how we do a rack of ribs here real quick. The easiest way to do it, we don't do it backyard style, which is pulling the membrane and all that, because we don't have enough time. The amount of ribs that we do here, all we do is score the back membrane and make sure no pieces of fat or bone is on anything like that. And then simply, people use mustard, people use whatever, olive oil. I use this oil. Just kind of give it a quick slather and then a quick little spritz of SPG back, light coat. Same thing with the front side. Slather and then a sprinkle. that's my base coat, and then I go with my top secret rib rub, only for the top, which is known as the presentation side. Nice even coat, not too heavy. And pat it in, not rub it in, because I want it to look nice and uniform. That's it. Do a bunch of those super quick. Let me show you. Down here, put it in the smoker. So just put it in. There it sits for about, I want to say 2.5 hours. And then I start spritzing it. I wrap it around 3 hours and then pull it off. Like all in all, it takes about 4 hours to do each batch. Super simple, but they come out really juicy, really tender, and really delicious. So, we have delicious food here. You guys should come down. We don't have our signs up yet, and we don't have our phone number yet, but it's all coming. Everything's taking a couple more weeks. But do you have anything to say?
No, if you come in, you can ask for us, Kayla, and then there's Dom.
Thank you so much, Victor, for coming on Everything Sparkle today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you, Sparkle?
I'm great. So tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm a food and agriculture industry guy. I have a consulting firm called Third Wave Strategies, and I do a variety of things. I work with food companies, startups, emerging brands, larger brands, to figure out the world of the consumer and the food industry, and how developing new products fit in there, along with marketing them and getting them to market in retail stores and directly to the consumer, which is a very hot thing right now, as well as providing consumer insights for those companies. And also from the other end, trying to give information and enlighten consumers a bit about things like grocery shopping and the food industry and agriculture and how they're all related to the whole.
So tell us about, like, how do you find your markets? Do they come after you or you come after that? Like, how does it work?
It's a little bit of both. I'm very active. I also write about the business of food. I write a column for a publication, a global publication based in the UK called Just Food. And I write about a myriad of topics.
How'd you get hooked up with that? Because you're based in San Francisco right now. How'd you get based with a publication in the UK?
It's the global village, you know. Geography is not as important today with the internet, social media, and
that's how we're
especially
able to communicate.
Exactly. And especially, you know, I would say the pandemic, the shutdown, probably accelerated that by 10 or 15 years. The same way with how people, not just in the food industry, but because that's what I do day to day, communicate. You know, a simple little anecdote. It used to be, let's say you were in Fresno and you were Valley Lavash, right? You have a food product. You have it in a supermarket chain in Texas. You would jump on an airplane, go there maybe twice, 3 times a year and visit the buyer, talk about how your product was performing, what kind of promotions you would do, etc. Since the shutdown of March 2020, 100% of that, and about 95% of it still today, is all done virtually, just like we're speaking here, either by Zoom or email or a combination of those.
So even though the publication is based out of the UK, it circulates. Who's the main audience for?
The main audience are people who, generally speaking, work in the food industry and related industries. So CEOs of food companies, entrepreneurs who start up food companies, which is a big trend now. Everybody wants to be in the food business, doctors, lawyers, starting food brands. That's why you see so many small brands if you go into Whole Foods, even Vons, Save Mart. So it's everybody from CEOs on down to entrepreneurs, grocery retailers, people who work in allied industries, logistics, agriculture, freight. More of like it's a vertical publication, not a consumer publication per se. But I got involved with them simply because they were familiar with my work. And I believe my first interaction with them was on Twitter, sending me a message saying, hey, we like what you're saying here. Saw your bio. Would you like to maybe write a column for us? And I've been doing that for 9, 10 years. 9
That's
years.
really cool. Okay, so some people see that and then they come to you, and then that's a little bit how you get the business.
Yeah, and trade shows and it's actually, nice to get back into the world again. For example, today for an hour, I was in San Francisco, so I met with a fellow who has a venture capital firm focusing on startup and small brands in what's called the better for you cycle. Nutritional supplements, food products that have a wellness aspect to them. And we happened to meet for lunch at a brand new Whole Foods store in San Francisco. We've probably been talking to each other on social media for 4 years. Never met. We were going to meet at a big natural products expo show that just finished a couple of weeks ago in Southern California. First time they've had that in over 2 years because of the pandemic. About 70, 80,000 people. And it's the showcase for all the more interesting food products. And you get a big representation from the Central Valley. A lot of people, farmers, entrepreneurs, starting their own food brands. That's the place to go. Think about the things you see in Sprouts Farmers Market or Whole Foods, and increasingly in mainstream supermarkets. So he couldn't make it to see me there. We couldn't meet up, but we met today, exchanged information, found out interesting things about him, what he's doing, invested in 13 different startup companies. And he's interested in what I know because as an investor, it's in his interest that they're doing the right thing. So we made a connection, exchanged some interesting information, found out we knew a couple of people in common.
I bet in that circle as you guys kind of go around the same groups of people, right?
Yeah. And, traditionally, the old saying of upsetting the apple cart, the pandemic really did that. Traditionally there's conferences, there's meetings, there's no substitute for the face-to-face. But that's been on a hiatus for 2 years, 2+ years. So it's been a different world. It's sort of like, babies emerging from the swaddling cloth after 2 years, It's very interesting. The food show was very interesting. People were literally had been talking to people for 2 years that they never met, and they met them there. It's like any industry.
What are some of the misconceptions that you've seen lately that people think when they come to you? People think about food. What are some things some myths you can dispel from us? Because it's like sometimes people are like the way the health food industry is going, like you said, you have all these supplements. And a lot of times it's just a bunch of people kind of competing. And it's like, is this stuff really healthy? Do you get down to the nitty gritty on this?
Yes. I mean, for example, a big area now in the business is called functional foods, right? Traditionally, most companies produced a food, and it still holds true to a large extent, and people bought it over and over again, which is what matters for success for a brand, a food brand, any food, whether it's milk, cookies, ice cream. Taste. That's always been the hallmark. Taste and price, right? So you go into the supermarket and there's a brand of ice cream that costs $5 a pint and you love it because of the taste. you might indulge. Today, with the recession, you might trade down to the store brand, but it doesn't taste as good. But the whole functional area, that really started emerging like 15 years ago. And that's the whole idea of food and beverage products that have something special to them of a health or wellness nature. They might have adaptogens in them, which are things that are supposed to help you relax, to be calm, vitamins in them, various nutritional supplements in the food, and beverages. That's a huge thing now. So that's really been the biggest jump, is you can call it in a sense, and it is a term that's out there. Food is medicine. It's ancient. Whatever is old is new again, but
Right.
with the so is. But the idea that people will now buy food products factoring in the idea that it has a health or wellness benefit to it.
Right.
And a lot of that is unprovable, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. What do you see about it? Because over time we hear some things that we thought were healthy are no longer healthy. So when these people come at you with like, oh, this is this and that, do you combat it and be like, okay, well, how do we know? Because you've been in this for a while, you kind of know what's working and what doesn't work.
Yes, and that's the thing. The bottom line always in it is that you want to be very careful about claims that you make. Let's look at nutritional supplements, right? It's a huge business.
Right.
I take some of them, vitamin C, this or that. I have never seen any scientific evidence that they do what they say they do, right? There's a big gray area.
That's true.
So I take some of them because I want to, and I have a certain belief. Vitamin C, there's research that says it does miraculous things. There's other research that says it does very little. Okay. So if I feel myself getting a cold, I do boost up zinc and vitamin C.
Right.
Is it really helping me, or is it a placebo effect? So it's the same way.
No, I get it.
Like all the bottled water, it's got electrolytes in it, this or that in it. You have to drink a lot of bottles of water to get much of what's in that. But it's like anything, right? We don't behave always based on what the scientific evidence shows. But
Correct.
For a food company, you have to be very careful. You need to be transparent, because if people think you're trying to put one off on them, they may buy the product for a while, but it's not going to succeed.
Well, and then also, everything, I assume that all these products are like FDA approved at some point, right?
Yes. And
when it's sick.
Well, but that's an interesting thing too when it comes to, various claims. It's like technology, innovation is always ahead of the government, right? The internet happened. It took ages in the government. How much should we regulate it? We're in an era in the food and beverage business where innovation is just rife, So entrepreneurs, creative people come out with things. It's the same way with technology, right? The little electric scooters, those hit the market and the government were caught. What are we going to do about this? People are now complaining. So they came back later, put moratoriums, now have figured out certain ways to regulate it. So that happens weekly in the food business. A whole different generation or type of product will come out, making claims of health and wellness attributes, and it takes the FDA or USDA. Here, a perfect example. So there's a whole area now. It's called cellular or cultivated meat. Basically what it is scientists have figured out how to create a product that has a similar texture and a similar taste to animal meat in a lab. Okay. Investors have come, so entrepreneurs have taken that, created companies globally, and have created these products, and they exist and they're improving them, but they're not legal yet because the government is still trying to figure out, can they call them meat? What sort of disclaimers do they have to put? What are the possible dangers? So the products are there, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars of investment. And this is different than plant-based meat.
Right,
This is,
right.
creating meat in a petri dish in a lab. But it hasn't been approved yet, and it probably won't be for a while, simply because the government hasn't figured out yet whether A, they should allow it, which they probably will, but B, if they do, what are the guidelines? What are the regulations? What are the consumer warnings?
What's your take on that?
I think
on this meat.
I think it's very interesting. I'm a big proponent of innovation, so I'm not the kind of person that thinks government should get in the way of innovation. I do believe things have to be regulated to a certain degree. I think the bottom line is, do we need it? Number one, it's like plant-based meat. That's legal. That's like your Beyond Meat, Impossible Meat, basically meat products that are made out of plants and not animals. So it depends. A lot of the hype behind the cultivated meat are people who, for political reasons or personal reasons, philosophical, are against animal agriculture, right? Then you have others who claim that it's not sustainable globally to continue animal agriculture to the extent it's going to be needed to feed the world in 10 years, 20 years. But it's the same way with plant-based meat. I just wrote a column, and it's matter of fact on my Facebook page, interesting comments from people across the board. Some people that happen to work in the food business, a couple farmers, the rest people that have nothing to do with the food business. But interestingly, sometimes when I do that, it catches people's eye. And you've heard all about plant-based meat and how it's such a big deal. And it's been around forever, but the new iterations like the Beyond Meat, Beyond Burger, they taste closer to animal meat, so they've gotten more attention. But the fact is, after all is said and done, they don't even account for 1.5% of all the meat sales in America. Yet they get, if you're people, a couple people pointed that out because I pointed it out in my column. Oh, I thought it was much bigger than that. I see an article every day. So, a lot of that is, public relations, the press latches onto things.
So at what point should we get in touch with you? Like if somebody does want to hire you and get in touch with you and pick your brain or get some insight, how do we go about that?
Yeah, they could send me an email. My general email for that, it's my name, Victor, Victor, Martino, 415 @gmail.com. And or they can just ask you, and you can give them my email.
Yeah, that's great. But at what point, should we reach out to you? And are you taking on new people? Because you're a really busy man.
Yeah, I do a variety of things, and a lot of what I do is set. I'm involved with a startup in a larger sense in the food business, etc. But yeah, I'm open to any inquiries, and I get them all the time. You have to be cautious when you hear that phrase, pick your brain, because oftentimes it's synonymous with free. So
no, and you're a wealth of knowledge. So I really appreciate you even just meeting with me today and telling me all this. I know we've been trying to get together for a while. That's I'm like, we'll just go for the virtual today.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate that.
But I'd love to meet you sometime in person and even go more into this and have you back on too and really dive more into this because there's just so much that people don't even realize. What's one of the biggest things you think people don't realize in this business?
The biggest thing people don't realize is, I'll give you two. Number one, that food in America since the end of World War II has been cheap. I know people don't realize that when they go to the grocery store and they dump $400 a week or more, but we even call it, historians call it the era of cheap food in America. And I believe it very well could be over. In the last year, food has gone up almost 10% because now it's going up even more because we're adding the war, the tax.
And think about how much we waste in food. We throw a lot of stuff away too.
Americans waste 40% of all the food that is produced. And you know where the majority of that food gets wasted? Not in the supply chain, not from the farm to the factory, not from the factory to the grocery store, right in our kitchens. We throw it away. About 3/4 of that 40% are consumers in our homes.
Wow.
And that's a big area now.
That is big. What's the second thing?
On top of that, the second thing is that what it takes to grow a food product, to process it, to package it, and to ultimately get it on the shelf in the grocery store. The average person, and that's a hallmark, to America, right? We take some things like that for granted. Up until recently, we would almost have a fit if our favorite soup or cereal was out at our regular grocery store. It's been pretty common the last year and a half. We take it for granted that can happen, and that also goes to the number one point, and that we don't have to pay a lot for it. But what it takes for farmers to grow food in the Great Central Valley, what it takes now, it's all coming true. The price of hauling fresh produce from Madera or Los Baños or Modesto to the East Coast is more than double than it was a year ago. So everything is getting more difficult. That's why you're seeing things like shortages in the stores. But the process, it's miraculous. It's boring, compared to so many things that we like that are exciting. But the process of just getting that product from a crop to the grocery store for us involves just a myriad of mechanisms that most people aren't aware of, and you can't blame them, right? There's no reason to be aware. Only the awareness comes when there's a glitch in the machine, right?
Well, I think it would be neat if we learned that more in school, like if that was more of a priority.
Yeah, well, you know how that goes, and that depends where you live and go to school. I know a lot of people even in the food business that have never been to a farm. I grew up in the Central Valley, dairy, meat,
right.
But there's a lot of people, they've done studies in the past, and it's kind of inflated a bit. But in places like New York City, they've asked kids, where does food come from? And the kids said, the supermarket.
Victor, thank you so much for coming on my show. This has been great.
Thank you. And I enjoy your show. You're doing a great job, and I appreciate the invitation.
Felt right in the moment, felt right in the summertime. It felt right drinking cherry wine with you. Just wanted to own it, just wanted to take the time, learn all the things that I could about you. Now it's such a mess here, oh, we are just stressed here. Used to be so easy with you. Now I must confess here, oh, I must confess, dear, don't think I'm in love with you. Winter is coming and I don't know what to do, and there's no more use in running, no more running to you. And I don't want your loving, I don't wanna be just friends, knowing all this time we were playing pretend.